awakening ต่อไป as yogis. This evening we shall go through the gist of this discourse of Malukya Putta. Every yogi shall read through the Pali verses. Etha jate Malukya Putta Titha Sutta Mutta Vinyata Pesu Dhammesu Dithe Ditha Mattang Pavisati Sutte Sutta Matang Pavisati Mutte Mutta Matang Pavisati Vinyate Vinyata Mantam Pavisati Yato Ko Te Malukya Putta Dittha Sutta Mutta Vinyata Pesu Dhammesu Ditte Dittha Matang Pavisati Sutte Sutta Matang Pavisati Mutte Mutta Matang Pavisati Vinyate Vinyata Matang Pavisati Tato Twaং มาลุกยะปุตตะนาเตนะยะโตตวังมาลุกยะปุตตะนาเตนะตะโตตวังมาลุกยะปุตตะนาตัทธายาโตตวังมาลุกยะปุตตะนาตัทธาตะโตตวังมาลุกยะปุตตะเนวิทานาหุรามนาอุปยะมันตะเรนะเอเสวันโตทุกขสาติสาธุสาธุสาธุ This is the teachings of Vipassana given to Malukya Putta by the Buddha. Malukya Putta went to see the Buddha and requested the Buddha to give him the teaching of the Dharma in brief. So I shall discuss the main point of this discourse here. Before the Buddha gives the teaching, the Buddha asks Malukya Putta some questions. The Buddha asked Malukya Putta, what do you think, Malukya Putta? Do you have any desire, lust, or affection for those forms cognizable by the eye that you have not seen and never saw before, or that you do not see and would not think might be seen? Do you think, for example, lust, raga, for those forms that can be cognized by the eye, you have not seen them and never saw before, you do not see them and would not think might be seen? Do you think raga, lust, can arise in your mind? Definitely, lust cannot arise. You do not see those forms.
So similarly, the Buddha asked the same questions in relation to the sounds cognizable by the ear, odors, or odosium smell, or cognizable by the nose, taste cognizable by the tongue, tactile objects cognizable by the body, and those mental phenomena cognizable by the mind. Do you have any desire, lust of affection for those mental phenomena cognizable by the mind that you have not cognized or never cognized before, or that you do not cognize and do not think might be cognized? So this desire, lust or affection cannot arise. Just like, let's say you do not see your enemy, you do not hear the voice of your enemy, then there's no feeling of anger or thoughts of ill will arise. So similarly, if you do not cognize the mental phenomena, have not cognized before, never cognized, definitely the desire, lust, affection will not arise. So then the Buddha give the teachings, the practice. You have recited the paragraph. Here, Malukya Putta, regarding things seen, heard, sensed, and cognized by you. In the seen, they will merely the seen. In the heard, they will merely the heard. In the sense, they will be merely the sense. In the cognized, they will be merely the cognized. So in other words, if one aspires to uproot the mental defilements, then one must develop insight knowledge by being mindful, whatever being seen or being heard, sensed or cognized at that present moment. So we cannot mindful of the past, we cannot mindful of the future in order to develop insight knowledge. Take for example, in the scene, there will be merely the scene. In other words, the eye consciousness sees only form, see the form as it is, not in the aspect that the form is permanent, everlasting, beautiful, and so on. When the eye consciousness see only form in form, that eye consciousness does not add any colors to the form. If the eye consciousness could not see correctly, then there's a perception arising, or the mind will begin to make some judgment and so on. For example, sometimes a person see another person, this person might see the form of the person. For example, this person has a short hair, a round face, and so on. Or this person takes delight to see the hairstyle of this person, then the feature of that person, then defilements can arise. So here merely means merely the seen. It means the mind will be just a mere eye consciousness. In other words, that eye consciousness is not affected by lust or raga, hatred, dosa, or delusion, moha. As long as mindfulness is not yet sharp and concentration is not deep enough, then it's difficult to realize the arising of consciousness. So, first of all, meditators must be able to realize the specific characteristics of the mental and physical phenomena clearly. So when meditators are able to realize, for example, movements clearly, movements as movements, or heat as heat, then the consciousness which is arising dependent on this physical phenomena will become evident or clear. So this consciousness which is arising dependent on the material elements, such as movements as movements, heat as heat, this consciousness is known as kaya vijnana, or body consciousness. So just now you have heard about stages of insight knowledge, or jnana, from Venerable Jamyel Sayadaw-ji. So when meditators realize, for example, the characteristics of impermanence, meditators only realize the arising and passing away of the movements. Sometimes meditators perceive the expansion of abdomens. For example, the abdomens keep on expanding like a balloon. Then later, the abdomen begins to contract, move inwards, and so on. So meditators can see the changes in the expansions of the abdomen or contractions of the abdomen. So although meditators see the changes in the movement of abdomens, but meditators have not yet realized anicca, impermanence. As long as meditators could sense the form, meditators have not yet realized clearly the specific characteristics of the wind element, or movements as movements. If mindfulness meditators are able to mindful of the process of rising movements and falling movements more attentively, precisely, then gradually meditators only come to realize there's only movements. And then there's a process of awareness that knows the movements, only movements. So when meditators keep on practicing, then they come to realize that this awareness is in fact the consciousness that cognizes the movements. When there's a consciousness cognizing the movements, or when there's a rising of consciousness cognizing other physical phenomena, such as heat, hardness, and so on, at the times it's not possible to perceive or to sense the form or the shape. There's no feeling or conscious of a person, an I, or yogi is mindful of this phenomenon, such as the process of rising movements or the process of falling movements. If the mindfulness and concentration are getting stronger, there's no feeling of an I or person or yogi watching these two processes. So mindfulness meditators are following the guideline of the mindfulness meditation closely, then this experience will become clearer and clearer to the mind. And then the Buddha said, when Malukya-Putta, regarding things seen, heard, sensed, and cognized by you, in the seen there be merely the seen, in the heard they be merely the hurt, or in the sense, they be merely the sense. In a cognized, they be merely the cognized. Then, Marukya Putta, you will not be by that. So in the words, when there's merely eye consciousness seeing, then they will not be aroused by lust, or irritated by hatreds, or deluded by delusions. So in other words, when yogis are able to realize the ultimate realities, at that time the mind could be free from lust, hatred and delusions. But when one could not see the ultimate realities, then one will see the form, the shape, and the concept. So when one sees the form and or the shape, then perception can arise. Then there's a judging. I like this shape, I like this form, I dislike that shape, that form. So there's a time the defilements will arise. So similarly, this also applies to other types of consciousness: ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. For example, if the mindfulness and concentration are strong enough, and the realizations of the three common characteristics, anicca, dukkha, and anatta, are clear, meditators can perceive the arising of the hearing consciousness clearly. But if the mindfulness and concentration are not strong enough, then the arising of the hearing consciousness is not clear to the meditators. So at that time, the hearing is not merely hearing the sound. So at that time, the hearing will go to the concept, their perceptions of the voice, whose voice. The voice is nice to hear, or it's not nice to hear this voice. So at that time, it's no longer merely ear consciousness. If there's a rising of merely ear consciousness, then there's only merely hearing sound as sound. So at that time, it's not possible to add any color to the sound or the voice. So in that way, one will not be aroused by lust, or irritated by hatreds, or deluded by delusions. So when there's merely ear consciousness merely cognizing the sound as sound. Then the Buddha explains further, when Marukya Putta, when you are not by that, then you will not be therein. So if one is not aroused by lust, or irritated by hatreds, or deluded by delusion, then one will not be therein. That means one will not be attached to what's been seen, what's heard, sensed and cognized. In other words, when there's merely eye consciousness, see the form, or merely ear consciousness, hear the sound, then one will not be aroused by lust, or irritated by hatreds, or deluded by delusion. So in other words, the mind is free from these three roots of evil. So in other words, when there's no lust, no hatred, no delusion, then one will not be therein. So in other words, if there's no lust, hatred or delusion, in relation to the sense object. For example, the form seen by the eye, the sound heard by the ear. Then finally the Buddha said, when Marukya Putta, you are not therein, then you'll be neither here nor beyond, nor in between the two. This itself is the end of suffering. So, if the consciousness is free from three roots of evil, definitely one has uprooted the three roots of evil by all the four stages of path knowledge. So, at the moment of attaining Nibbana enlightenment, the mind is in the state of Nibbana enlightenment. So when the mind is on Nibbana, then one is not in this life, that means not here, or one is not in the next life, in other words, not there. It's also not in between the two. In other words, there's no birth, no death in Nibbana. So, in other words, if one aspires to uproot the three roots of evil, raga, dosa, moha, then one must be mindful of the sixth sense door, all the phenomena arising at the sixth sense door. In other words, meditators have to cultivate the mindfulness until the mindfulness is so sharp that, and the concentration is so deep, there is merely eye consciousness, see the form, merely ear consciousness, hear the sound. Sense here refer to the other three sense doors. Sense here refer to the nose consciousness, merely nose consciousness, merely tongue consciousness, merely body consciousness. And then there's merely mind consciousness cognizes the mental phenomena. If there's a realization of consciousness arising with various phenomena, meditators will realize the rapid processes of the consciousness and the phenomena. The rapid processes, in other words, the consciousness and the object are always arising and passing away very instantly. So in that way, meditators will make progress to higher and higher stages of insight knowledge. So here consciousness only perceives the ultimate reality. But when the mindfulness is not well developed, concentration is not deep enough, sometimes meditators might say that I become conscious of the movement of dormants. So that consciousness is not yet the ultimate reality. If there's a consciousness in the sense of ultimately, consciousness only cognizing or knows, for example, a series of minute broken process movements. For example, if meditators are mindful of the bowing movements, when they pay homage, if they perceive a few broken process bowing movements, that realization of anicca is not yet thorough, is not yet penetrative. But if meditators only realize there's a series of consciousness arising with this, a series of minute broken process movements, then meditators will gain a thorough knowledge of impermanence.
Sorry, again, please.
Only when meditators are able to realize a series of consciousness arising with a series of minute broken processor movements. So in other words, each consciousness is arising depending on a minute process of movements. Then the both processes subject to passing away. Then there's another minute process of movements. Then there's a consciousness arising, cognizing this minute process of movements. Both processes of movements are not connected. That's why the commentary explains that when meditators realize anicca, they realize this connectedness between the two objects or two phenomena. Meditators sometimes could not perceive that there's a downward movement when they are bowing down or to pay homage to Buddha. Because ultimalities of such as movements is not actually not moving from one place to another place. Paramatha Dhamma or ultimately is arising and passing away in the very same place. So meditators as if realize that the movements, the minute process movements is arising and passing away at that place. So there's only realizations, consciousness arising with every minute process of movements. So when the mindfulness is constant and continuous, there's only realizations of consciousness with a minute process movements until there's a perception of touching. So when the mindfulness is constant and continuous, there's only a realizations of consciousness, a series of consciousness and series of minute process movements until there's a perception of touching. So at the moment of the touching, experience touching, if the meditators lost the mindfulness at that time, then meditators will come to perceive that his head or her head has touched the floor. Then the meditators will lose the experience of Paramatha Dhamma at that time. So if mindfulness meditators aspire to make progress in various stages of insight knowledge, they must be able to sustain the effort, mindfulness, concentration, so that the realizations of ultimalities is clear and sustained. The realization of ultimately is constant and continuous for a longer and longer period of time. So the gist of this teaching by the Buddha to Marukyaputta is that mindfulness meditators must mindful of whatever phenomenon which is arising at that very present moment. So if you follow the guidelines of mindfulness meditation, there's to mindful of whatever phenomenon which is arising at that present moment, and note it as it really occurs. Then sooner or later you come to understand these teachings of the Buddha given to Marukyaputta. So the immediate purpose of practicing mindfulness is to strengthen the power of mindfulness, to sharpen the mindfulness. When mindfulness meditators are able to strengthen the mindfulness, sharpening the mindfulness constantly and continuously, then they shall realize concentration, momentary concentration, and clear insight knowledge. So your practice of mindfulness meditation should be in accordance with the discourses such as the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, and you should bear in mind the significance of the discourses Arya Vihara and Anarya Vihara. You should practice mindfulness correctly so that the practice is inclining towards the realizations of specific characteristics of the mental and physical phenomena and the cause and effect of conditionality. Then you only begins to realize the three common characteristics anicca, dukkha, anatta. At the moment of realizing anicca, dukkha, anatta, you are also experiencing the specific characteristics of every phenomenon at the same time. So when your realizations of both characteristics are clear, then you shall make more and more progress in the various stages of insight knowledge. So these teachings of the Buddha given to the Marukya-Buddha should be well kept by mindfulness meditators, vipassana meditators. So I wish all mindfulness meditators shall continue the practice of mindfulness at any time, any places, bearing in mind that practice of mindfulness is a lifelong practice, so that you can realize your spiritual goal eventually.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.